Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Knowledge Systems and a warm welcome to AKS IAS Academy, which is one of the premier institutions in India, and it offers examination coaching for UPSC CSC, State Public Service Commission, SSC Combined Graduate Level and CLAT examination. And about me, I'm Sandeep Bhushan Tumala and my credentials are 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I take up international relations and internal security and the analysis of the Hindu newspaper. And this session is in regards to the DNA of the Hindu newspaper, that is of 10th of February 2020. And in the DNA, I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases from the Hindu newspaper, which wherein we will identify the factual, analytical and conceptual questions which are useful for the UPSC prelims examination. And while you imbibe the keywords and the key phrases in your mains answers, your answer would be precise and concise, and thereby you would score higher marks in the mains examination. So this session at AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis will certainly help you to crack both prelims as well as mains for the year 2021. And before we get into the DNA of the newspaper, we'll be focusing at the quote of the day. And the quote of the day says that the only person you are destined to become is a person you decide to become. So whatever you decide to be, you are destined to become. So you decide what you want to become and you will certainly become. And this is the quote of the day. And now we'll get into the DNA of the newspaper. And the news which we would be now discussing is in regards to the Supreme Court has gone ahead with giving a stay of and coercive action or to arrest the Congress leader Shashi Tharoor and 6 senior journalists. In regards to this, the Supreme Court has given a relief from being arrested, that is Shashi Tharoor and 6 senior journalists from being arrested, because they were booked under multiple sedition, or they had FIRs registered against them in regards to the multiple seditions, because they have allegedly tweeted and they have shared unverified news. This is the point which has been mentioned in the FIR, or FIR was registered against the Congress leader Shashi Tharoor and 6 senior journalists because they had tweeted and shared unverified news about what? About an young farmer who has died at the hands of the police during the tractor rally on the Republic Day, that is on 26th January 2021. So what is very clear is that while we or any citizen of India, he tweets, that tweet should be a verified news. The tweet and the sharing should not be unverified. If you are tweeting or if you are sharing an unverified news, there is a possibility that an FIR can be registered under Sedition Act. So here it is Sedition Act which the police of various states have registered FIRs on Shashi Tharoor and 6 senior journalists. But the Supreme Court, or a bench in the Supreme Court which was led by the Chief Justice of India Sharad Bobde, has stayed any coercive action, that is arresting. The Supreme Court has stayed any kind of arrest against Mr. Tharoor, and the 6 other are Rajdeep Sardesai, journalist, Anantnath, Pareshnath, Vinod K. Jose, Mrinal Pandey and Zafar Aga. Here, the Supreme Court has come to the rescue and protected or provided a relief of not being arrested to the Shashi Tharoor and 6 senior journalists. And why the Supreme Court has come forward and going ahead with the stay? Because Mr. Tharoor and the others journalists have moved to the Supreme Court, or they have challenged the FIR which was registered by various states in the Supreme Court, and these people were charged against, or they were charged on the basis of sedition and promotion of enmity and criminal conspiracy, because they have tweeted and shared an unverified news. That is what the state governments or the police have charged on the basis of sedition, promotion of enmity, and criminal conspiracy. And the police has leveled the charges against them, because while they have posted or tweeted on, then they have shared an unverified news that was a malified one, defamatory, and a false and misleading tweets, which which the Delhi police, in the tweet it says that the young farmer has died by the Delhi police in a tractor rally on Republic Day. So the keywords here what you need to focus is that on the charges of sedition, promotion of enmity, and criminal conspiracy was the FIR registered against Mr. Tharoor and 6 other journalists, because they have posted a malified, defamatory, and a false and misleading tweets. And in turn, the court, while it has stayed any kind of coercive action, the court also, that is the Supreme Court, has also issued notice to the states which have filed the FIR against these persons. That is, the court has issued notice to various states and law enforcement authorities, including the center and Uttar Pradesh and Delhi police, that there should not be any kind of coercive action against Mr. Tharoor and 6 journalists or senior journalists. And the bench or the court has noted that the petitioners or petitions were covered by earlier decisions, and this is crucial information. Why the Supreme Court has stayed the arrest of Mr. Tharoor and 6 senior journalists, is because the petitions which was filed by the 7 people, a politician and journalist, which they have challenged or they have moved to the Supreme Court. Here, in turn, the bench of the Supreme Court, the petitions which were covered were with the earlier decisions to protect the Republic TV chief Arnab Goswami. So, the Arnab Goswami case is crucial in regards to the Supreme Court staying any coercive action against the politician and the journalist. Here, this is the analysis what you need to take into consideration. So they are focused on the earlier decision what the Supreme Court has taken to protect Republic TV chief Arnab Goswami. So the petitions were covered by the earlier decision by the Supreme Court bench led by the Chief Justice of India Sharath Bobde, so that the politician and the journalist, they are protected from being arrested. Here in this case, while the Republic TV chief Arnab Goswami was also been having an FIR registered in various states or separate cases, and that was protected by the Supreme Court earlier, and based on the earlier decision, the Supreme Court now has stayed any coercive action against the politician and 6 journalists, and the bench has scheduled an hearing on merits whether the arrest can take place or the politician and the journalist can be protected from being arrested by various states administration and various state police, and the hearing will take place after a fortnight. And section 124A of the IPC, that is Sedition Act, has been added to the tweets and sharing of unverified news by the politician and these journalists. So here the keyword is section 124A of the IPC, that is sedition, and the FIRs were registered in multiple states including Uttar Pradesh. And while FIR was registered in various states, taking into consideration of the earlier decision which the Supreme Court has protected Republic TV chief Arnab Goswami from being arrested in separate cases, but all together cumulative or combine it and then get into the action of only one case. Here in this case also, this registering of FIRs in multiple states has led the Chief Justice of India to go ahead and indicate the stay on arrest, and they felt that it was necessary that the politician and the journalist should not be arrested on various FIRs which have been filed in various states or multiple states. Here the keywords what you need to focus is the sedition. Section 124A of IPC, charges of sedition, promotion of enmity, criminal conspiracy, and the posting or the tweets which were tweeted and again shared was malified, defamatory, false and misleading as per the Delhi police or as per the various Uttar Pradesh and Delhi which they have filed an FIR. Now we will move to the another news which the Rajya Sabha has passed the bill. So we have to look at the bill which is again crucial or critical for the prelims perspective of UPSC. So the Rajya Sabha has passed the National Capital Territory of Delhi Laws Special Provision Second Amendment Bill 2021. And what is the need of the bill of NCT or National Capital Territory of Delhi Laws Special Provision Second Amendment Bill 2021 is that this bill extends the protection from any kind of punitive actions for certain kinds of unauthorized construction. Here the point is unauthorized construction for 3 years. So this is a protection from any punitive actions for certain kinds of unauthorized construction, and the bill now replaces an ordinance which was passed earlier by the government, that is earlier in the sense in the month of December 2020, and the bill also goes ahead with existing protections from any kind of sealing and demolition of illegal constructions, including certain forms of encroachment and unauthorized colonies. Now, this was set to end. That means the ordinance date was set to end on December 31st, 2020. Thereby, again the bill has now replaced an ordinance which was passed or in the month of December 2020, and it has passed the bill that is National Capital Territory of Delhi Laws Special Provisions Second Amendment Bill 2021. So it is extending the protections from any kind of punitive actions for certain kinds of unauthorized construction, and that protection will be for how many years? For 3 years. This is crucial, and these protections were extended through an ordinance and acts which earlier, prior to 2021 bill which was passed in the Rajya Sabha, this protection was extended even earlier also. It was in the year 2007, 2009, 2014 and 2017 also. And now we'll look at the other one, which the union ministers and the government departments have come up with an Indian made app called as Koo. So this is made in India alternative to and Twitter, an app which we have now, or many of them are using it, is Twitter. Now the government of India or the union ministers and the government department, various government departments are setting up an account which would be an alternative to Twitter, which is a made in India app which is called as Koo, will be alternative to Twitter. And this has come up amidst the ongoing tussle between the government and the Twitter. What is a tussle? That the government is asking or demanding or urging Twitter to block the content and accounts related to the farmers' protest. So this is at the midst of the tussle between the government and the Twitter that the union government has urged and demanded Twitter to block the content and accounts related to farmers' protests. In this midst, now the government has come up to set up an account alternative to Twitter, which is made in India. That app is Ku app, and Ku is almost similar to Twitter, and this has come up because the government has had a challenge last year, innovation challenge. That challenge is called as Atmanirbhar App Innovation Challenge, and the name which has been selected for the app, that is Atmanirbhar App Innovation Challenge, is Ku, which is Made in India app alternative to Twitter. And the platform, that is Ku platform, has received 4.1 million US dollars have been raised from various investors, like even from former Infosys CFO Mohandas Pai, Excel Partners, Kalari Capital, Bloom Ventures, and Dream Incubator. That means this Atmanirbhar App Innovation platform has raised 4.1 million US dollars, and this is Made in India alternative to Twitter, and this is the symbol for Ku, which is similar to Twitter and an alternative to Twitter. And another news is in regards to whether the virus which has been originated in Wuhan is a laboratory one, or it has leaked from laboratory, or it was a natural origin. And in regards to this, there was a team from the World Health Organization and a team from China, or expert team. They have visited Wuhan. That means according to the WHO and China joint expert team, both the teams have visited Wuhan, and they have visited Wuhan because this is a place wherein the COVID-19 pandemic has begun, and they have visited there to find out whether there is any possibility of the virus which has leaked from the laboratory, or was it a natural origin. And the team has said that it was unlikely that it has leaked from a laboratory, and now the team says that there is an evidence pointed to a natural origins. That means the WHO and the China joint expert team has ruled out any kind of leak from the laboratory in Wuhan, and they are pointing at evidence that the SARS-CoV-2 virus or the pandemics of COVID-19 is a natural origin. They have confirmed, but still the team says that there is no indication. The team also concluded that there was no indication of SARS-CoV-2 which has spread among the population prior to December 2019. That means there was lot of statements being made that the virus, that is SARS-CoV-2 virus in China or in Wuhan, was not just in December 2019, but it was prior to that. Probably it could be from August 2019. But the team has now concluded that there was no indication of SARS-CoV-2 virus which has spread among the population prior to December 2019. And the authorities, which they have first confirmed that there was human to human transmission of SARS-CoV-2 virus only in the mid-January, and they have ruled out any kind of the SARS-CoV-2 virus which has spread or which was among the population prior to December 2019. And the WHO scientist who has led the international team is Peter Ben Embarek, have said that the initial findings from the expert team suggest that the introduction of the virus, SARS-CoV-2 virus, is through an intermediary host species. This is the keyword. What the WHO scientist, which was led, Peter Ben, which or who has led the international team, has said that the spread of virus SARS-CoV-2 has taken place through an intermediary host species. Please do understand, this is a keyword. Why? Because the team has studied on 4 pathways how the virus might have spread, or the introduction of SARS-CoV-2 virus in Wuhan among the population, and they say it is through the intermediary host species. Is most likely that it was part of the pathway, but they always say that this will require more studies and more specific targeted research, that the introduction of the SARS-CoV-2 virus was an intermediary host species. But as per the initial findings of the expert team, it suggests that it is through an intermediary host species, but it requires more studies, more specific target research. And this team was of 17 international experts and 17 Chinese scientists who have spent 2 weeks in Wuhan, focusing on various or visiting various hospitals, seafood market and laboratories to have an scientific research that whether the SARS-CoV-2 virus was from a laboratory or was it a natural origin. And the team, that is team of 17 international experts and 17 Chinese scientists, have examined 4 pathways of the introduction of the SARS-CoV-2 virus to the humans. That is, they have looked into whether it is direct transmission from wildlife, and these 4 pathways are crucial for prelims and mains perspective for conceptual understanding about the scientist or international team experts, which they have tried to examine the introduction of SARS-CoV-2 virus to the humans, whether it is through the direct transmission from wildlife, or is it through transmission through intermediate hosts, or whether it is transmission via cold chain projects, and whether it is a laboratory leak. And they have ruled out that it was a laboratory leak, but as per the initial findings of the expert team, they say that the introduction of the SARS-CoV-2 virus to the population in Wuhan has been through the intermediary host species. But it requires more of studies, more of specific and target research to conclude that it was not through the laboratory leak, but it was through the intermediary host, and also ruling out that there was any direct transmission from wildlife or from a cold chain products. And there is another news which talks about the e-commerce FDI rules. This is a keyword from prelims economy perspective, and the government of India is clarifying about the e-commerce foreign direct investment rules, or the policy, or FDI policy for the e-commerce sector. FDI policy for the e-commerce sector. And according to the Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has said that the center plans to issue a certification, or wants to issue a clarification on the FDI policy for the e-commerce sector. Why? The government is now coming up with a clarification on the FDI policy. Please do understand here, clarification on FDI policy for the e-commerce sector. This is the crucial key phase. FDI policy for what? E-commerce sector. Because now there are investigations made onto the foreign players' operations, because there are complaints which are raised against the foreign players' operations about the malpractices which they are incorporating, and the government in turn has sought an information from the online marketplaces as a part of a probe, because there are complaints about malpractices which are being taken up or which are being used by the foreign players operations, and thereby the government is now going ahead with a probe, and seeking the information from the online marketplaces is the part of the probe, which the complaint is from consumers and small retailers, that the malpractices or certain practices of e-commerce companies which is definitely not accepted as per the FDI policy for the e-commerce sector in India, and thereby the Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has said that the center plans to issue a clarification onto the FDI policy for the e-commerce sector. Why? Because the minister has stressed that e-commerce platform or various platforms in the e-commerce could only act as a service provider. Please do understand, the platforms in the e-commerce, as per the minister, that they would only act as a service provider. And in turn, the minister has warned the players, that is the foreign players, that whoever would break the law, they would have to correct the business practices at the earliest, because the minister is clarifying the FDI policy in the e-commerce sectors, that the e-commerce platforms would provide or would act only as a service provider, and in turn whoever breaks the law should have to correct the business practices at the earliest. And the e-commerce policy, the minister says that, will not be changed, because the e-commerce policy in India is robust, well designed, and it is operating in India in several sectors. Thereby, the e-commerce policy will not be changed. And the e-commerce policy, as per the minister, is supposed to provide a platform to both the buyers and sellers, wherein they can trade with each other. Please do understand, what the emphasis made or the statement made by the minister is that the e-commerce in India is supposed to provide a platform to both the buyers and the sellers, wherein both can trade with each other, and the e-commerce platform should not become a part of the trading transaction, wherein it would be funding or having any kind of algorithms which would give preference to one or the other. That means there should not be any kind of funding or algorithms which would give preference to either buyers or sellers, but as per the e-commerce, it should provide a platform that both the buyers and seller can trade with each other, but they should not become a part of the trading transaction. That means either buyer or seller should not be a part of the trading transaction, but both together should be trading with each other, and that is what the e-commerce is supposed to provide as a platform to enter buyers and sellers. And he also emphasized that they should not be promoting their own product, that is the foreign players should not be promoting their own products, but in turn in the e-commerce platform, the foreign players should provide all data required to make a rational choice, and the choice should be a free choice of the consumers. That means it should not be a part of the trading transaction, but it should provide, that means a platform should provide that there should be a trade with each other, not a part of the trading transaction. And for that, the minister says that the foreign players should promote not only their products but also provide all data required to the consumers, so that the consumer can make a rational choice, and the consumer has the right to go ahead with making a free choice to purchase it. And this is what the minister has spoken about, the clarification on the FDI policy for the e-commerce sector, and he also made it very clear that the e-commerce policy in India would not be changed because the e-commerce policy is robust, well designed, and it is operating in India in several sectors, and which is a positive and which is working in a very successful manner. And he also emphasized that the foreign players operations should not have any kind of scenario that they would be providing, or they should be having a trade with each other, that is buyers and sellers, and they should provide the data, all data required, not only about their own product but other products, so that the consumer can make a rational choice and the consumer has the free choice to purchase. Here the keyword is FDI policy in e-commerce sectors, foreign players operations, and the trade with each other and not to become a part of the trading transactions. So I hope this session was informative, knowledgeable, and helpful for both mains and prelims UPSC perspective. And I would say a very big thank you to all. Good luck to you all, and then do maintain consistency, stick to your schedule, and take care of your physical health and mental health. And do not forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe the AKS IAS Academy English Medium YouTube channel, and also have access to the website and the Telegram link of AKS IAS Academy. And then see you tomorrow again with the daily news analysis. And then till then, thank you, goodbye, and then take care.